Hello everyone, it is Monaco baby, yeah. And it actually kind of was exciting at the end. I say that hesitantly because obviously I think we all agree that 80% of it was fairly processional, but I think you'd be mad not to expect that. It's Monaco. This is what we know and love about it to a certain extent. So there's a lot of people every year when Monaco is processional that suddenly act surprised and say, why is this on the calendar? This doesn't work for modern F1. And we know that, but I think history has a place in Formula One, and as long as you manage your expectations of the Monaco Grand Prix each year and, are ready for a bit of a procession, but still watching 20 or 22 or however many drivers being on the ragged edge with barriers left and right, I think it's still an impressive thing to watch and something that's part of the history of motorsport. So I'm never going to say take it off the calendar because I think it has a place there. But I just need to manage my expectations and say, okay, so the qualifying result, that's pretty much going to be it. But then the safety car arrived. Joy. Um, I was waiting the whole race for something to happen. I mean, there was the hint of drops of rain throughout the weekend, and I thought, nah, it's not going to happen, is it? We need a rookie error, and unfortunately, Mr. Max Verstappen was the one to deliver that for us. And I mean, he's had a lot of, I hesitate to use the word hype because it's fairly justified. He's been amazing at his first Monaco Grand Prix weekend, 17 years old, and just being fearless, quite frankly, which is probably your youth helps there. You have no fear. He's been amazing. I think he was second in practice session number one. I think number one. Either way, he was doing pretty well. And yeah, he was just flooring it around Monaco. But I don't think everyone needs to jump off the bandwagon because the mistake he made is just that, it's a mistake. It's not like that's his driving style and he does it weekend after weekend. It's an easy mistake to make, and in Monaco you're punished for mistakes. Thankfully, safely, because those barriers do an amazing job. Those sort of foamy things that everyone crashes into. It did the job. It kept him safe. He popped right out of the car and was fine, which is brilliant. But he needed to be punished for such an error. You can't go into a mile of runoff on the left hand side and recover and come back. So it just looked like a misjudgment. I know Grosjean potentially brake tested him a little bit, but I certainly wouldn't blame him for the incident. A 5 place grid drop, I believe, Verstappen is getting for the next time out, which I think is fair. Again, if that had been Grosjean himself, who was the steward's favourite a couple of years ago, he'd have got the same sort of penalty. Ditto Maldonado, shaking my pasta pom poms. He would always get punished for that. So you can't just say that because he's a youngster and it's an innocent mistake that he shouldn't get a punishment. So I think it's actually entirely fair. And I'm glad Grosjean could at least continue the race and actually finish, even though it was outside the points, which is a shame. But yeah, just glad to see that everyone was fine after the incident. But thank you, Verstappen, for giving us a safety car and giving us a race in the last, dozen laps, I think. So that's my view of the incident itself, but obviously the aftermath is far more juicy. Because yeah, so there you have Hamilton out in front, and there's me being grumpy because I'm not a big Lewis Hamilton fan, obviously. B, Rosberg hasn't made any impression on him during the race, and C, I predicted Rosberg, Vettel, Hamilton as my top three in the predictions league. So let's just say I was fairly delighted when Hamilton mysteriously pulls into the pits and comes out just level with Vettel, and Vettel was ahead at the safety car line by at least, I'd say, half a car length. So amazing. I have no idea why that happened. Obviously, a lot of crazy Hamilton fans rush to blame the team, and obviously the team do admit a certain amount of fault and say, we miscalculated, we screwed up. It's essentially like his engineer coming on the radio and saying, oh, that's my bad. It was that sort of thing. It's a mistake. Again, like Verstappen, these are human beings, they make mistakes. They're perfect 99% of the time, and mistakes happen. But the fact of the matter is, Hamilton himself admitted in the press conference, I believe, that it was mostly his call. He mistakenly thought that others were pitting, so he radioed his team to say, my tyres are shagged, and that's the best word to describe them, sorry. Not the words he used, obviously. He said, my tyres are shagged, I want to come in, I want to pit. And so the team, in the heat of the moment, he's coming round ready to, go in the pit lane and he needs to be ready. In the heat of the moment, they miscalculated by a few seconds. and there is that delta, I think, between safety car lines where the cars on track can speed up slightly compared to the rest of their lap. I don't know the exact details, but either way, they massively misjudged it. I don't know whether they could have done a quicker pit stop and at least get out in front of Vettel, but either way, massive cock up. And so I'm going to do something really out of character now and slightly defend Lewis Hamilton. Only because we've seen in previous years, particularly at Monaco, how Lewis Hamilton likes to act when things don't go his way. So last year, last year was a massive sulk. I think a worse sulk than this year. After all the kerfuffle with Rosberg in qualifying last year as well. And if you look back to Lewis Hamilton 4 years ago, he was playing the race card and doing dodgy Ali G impressions when things weren't going his way in Monaco. So I think in a way he's acted better about this than he previously has. And I can understand him being pissed off. Why wouldn't you? Of course you'd be mad, but you'd be mad at yourself. And I think that's why he didn't rush to blame the team like he has done in some previous races, or rush to make snide remarks about Rosberg if Rosberg's done something to affect his race. So, to be honest, I think he was beating himself up as much as anyone else, which would be fair. Okay, you got a little bit of blame for the team, but you've got to blame yourself as well, because that team will do anything for you because you're their £100 million superstar driver and world champion. So if you say, I want to pit, they're going to let you pit. It's going to happen. So I think it was a fair reaction. And I don't know if anyone's seen it on my Twitter, the brilliant picture that I think it was Steph took in Monaco, but Sue's shared of apparently after the podium and after the interviews and everything, and Lewis Hamilton just disappeared, and he got onto a boat, and he had a sort of lovely red blankie around him, which made him look really sweet and very pathetic, to be honest. When people wrap 4 blankets around themselves when they've had a bit of a shock. So that just made me laugh a lot. Sorry, Lewis, I'm going to laugh about it. I think you need to laugh about it too eventually. So that's my view on that. I think his fans acted worse than he did for once. So fair play, Lewis. You've grown up a little bit since last year, since 2011. I think, you've got to beat yourself up a little bit. You've got to take some credit there, and I think he did a little bit. So there you go. That was the Mercedes carnage. And then obviously in the middle of all that we had Vettel doing his "I'm happy," which was great, to be honest. It's just nice to see. Vettel's always had a great sense of humour, but last year with such a terrible Red Bull, it wasn't going to come out so often. So actually seeing him on the podium, I think, his 5th podium, I think. Amazing. That's what we want to see. We want to see a happy Vettel, a funny Vettel, the Vettel people like, rather than the dominant Vettel or the toys out pram Vettel. So I was delighted to see him up there. I mean, he was giving them a run for their money anyway, and then obviously managed to maintain 2nd place even with a few laps left of the race. So delighted to see him happy, and obviously Ferrari doing well in general. Obviously Kimi had a bit more of a kerfuffle getting up there, not quite made the podium yet. But absolutely loved seeing Vettel do well, and just sort of mess around. People were sort of suggesting that maybe Martin snubbed him slightly by not interviewing him properly and focusing too much on Mercedes, but I think it's understandable given the big story of the race, and they're both professionals, they both get along, and they both have a sense of humour, so you could see that there was no bad blood there. They were just having a laugh, to be honest, so that was really good to see. And my final word of the race has to go to the glorious Jensen Button, because the glorious Jensen Button has finally gotten points for McLaren in that terrible McLaren Honda. Yay! So this is great news. I know it's sad to be so excited about an 8th place, but at the start of the season, we didn't even know if they get points until halfway through the season. So actually 6th race in, although probably their worst start ever. I think it is their worst start ever. I think. Let me check, but probably their worst start ever, pretty dismal. He did actually manage to get them points, and obviously Monaco was going to be their best shot at it, especially with a couple of people dropping out ahead. But he kept that car going, unlike Alonso, unfortunately, who I think has the bigger curse at McLaren. He just has the Weber car or something. But unfortunately not going well for Alonso. I think personally for Jensen Button, I think I said this on Downforce Radio last night, and possibly on the F1 in Pubs cast, or Motorsport in Pubs cast, whatever it's called now, when Bernie gets his claws in. I've probably said this loads, but I think personally for Jenson Button, he's got to take anything he can get because he's fought so hard for this seat, and you know everyone always I think makes out like he's average, but he's not. He was teammates to Lewis Hamilton in that car, and he outscored him. He outdid Lewis Hamilton in exactly the same car, and now he's looking to do the same to Fernando Alonso. And I know there's a lot of reliability and bad luck comes into it, so we'll wait and see, you know, if the car is able to develop and just be reliable and actually get them finishing races. We'll see what Alonso can do, but at the moment, Jenson Button is the one scoring the points and getting it done. So I'm delighted for him, even though it's a tiny small victory. But yay, McHonda finally getting a point. So good job, Jenson. Happy days. Hope to see you in the points continually. So that's about it for my Monaco ramble. Again, about 10 minutes. I'm getting okay at this consistency thing. Try not to ramble too much. What did you all think? Did you think it was a procession? Did you think Hamilton's team are trying to sabotage him? Do you want to get the tinfoil hats out? I don't know. Let me know what you think anyway. I enjoyed it, especially the last dozen laps anyway. And I got to watch it in the pub with loads of F1 fans and Dom and Lewis and Em and everybody, and it was just awesome fun. So yeah, if you've got an F1 in pubs, a motorsport in pubs near you, go do it because it's great fun and it's just quite amazing to hear the noise people make in an enclosed space when Lewis Hamilton pitted. So yes, I'm just going to go laugh at that picture of him in a blankie for a bit longer, and I will see you in a couple of weeks, I believe, for Canada. Bye!